Welcome. This is Bad Mentality. I am Rodney Glover. I'm your host. So we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So that's all. You'll definitely learn more about us as this podcast goes on. I'm grateful that I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what we're getting ready to get into and what we're going to start. The thing is, I've been blessed with a lot of friends that all are great men and dads. But I found that we don't talk to each other enough.
There is a difference between being a good man and being good at being a man.
He was about all these motorcycles, all these cars, everything I can think of,
I wouldn't change a thing. Like some things you look at me like, wow, but honestly, man, I wouldn't change it. We experience and those things, ultimately make us who we are. That's what I believe. Like,
Hello. It's your boy, the Beast One. Welcome to another episode of Dad Mentality, and we got one for y'all this week. We got a special guest with us this week. He's joining us again, but first I'm going to tell you I don't do this by myself. I got my co-host with me here each and every week. I got my man, $1 Grand. We've been knowing each other ever since we were 4 years old. Our parents brought us together. We had a great time as kids. Now we're doing this podcast, and it's my man Vance Robs, aka Coach. What's up, Coach? How you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's good with y'all? How y'all doing today?
Man, doing good,
excellent, bro.
Yeah, doing good. All right, let me go ahead and get this dude his introduction because Bitcoin is still weak. It's still up. I'm sorry, my man, cryptocurrency. My man, the diversified hustler. My man who is wealthy and blessed and joined us and we've been loving it and hanging out ever since. Spent the weekend over at his house, hung out with his wife. Shout out to O, and just love to everybody here. My man, Matty Ice. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent, man. Hope
Man,
everybody feeling good tonight.
Yeah, I had a good time. I'm glad I survived your house. It was a great time of partying and just enjoying life. So this week, fellas, we got a special treat for y'all. We brought this gentleman back. Now let's get something straight. His choices in music and movies are terrible. But, as far as his advice when it comes to mental health, also, he'll be the first person I call if I'm ever in a hostage negotiation. And that is my man, retired Sergeant Jamil Garrett. What's up, sir? How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on? What it do?
Man, doing good. So I just want to let you know you 0 for 2 as far as your choices in music and movies when you be on here. But we still bring you back because
Just wait. Just wait.
every once in a while we need some good advice, and hopefully you've always supplied us with good advice, and you're also a fan favorite. I'm not gonna lie, every time I have you on here, I get a little mail talking about is Sergeant Garrett married? I'm like, yes, he's happily married, ladies. So and that's my sister. I had to tell her, like, stop talking to me about him. I don't even care no more. You don't even care about the show. You want to tell me about him the whole time. Anyway, but we're gonna go ahead and get into this week's episode and jump into our mental health check-in. I'm going to go ahead and let Matty Ice start out with our mental health check-in and tell us how his week what's going on. Give us a scale from 0 to 10 and let us know what happened this week, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. So, man, this week was a pretty good week leading up to today. So I'm kind of on, like, I don't want to say autopilot, but I'm kind of cruising altitude at the moment. Like I said, I'm still the same. I'm about 7.58. Just feeling pretty good, man. Optimistic about some few things that I got going on. So just waiting on a few things to play out, but I feel good about them. Some moves I made. So Family's doing good, man. You know what I mean? Chilled out this weekend. Rodney came through, man. We ate good, drank good, man. Talked some trash, man. So good weekend. Yesterday, did a little bit of work, man, and got the week started off okay today, man. So 7.58, probably closer to that 8, but you know, man, still level, trying to get to that 9 and 10s. Hopefully once some of these things play out that I'm talking about, I can have a couple weeks at a 9 or a 10.
Okay, excellent. Glad to hear that, brother. Well, I'll go next to piggyback off of what you said. Yeah, I definitely had a great weekend hanging out with you and your family, your son Teo, everybody that came through. You know, said what's up. I did give him a hard time about you still feed them and stuff. So it was good. It was good times and definitely enjoyed. I actually partied a little too hard, but made it home safely. God bless and had a good time and all that. I do want to say something to Coach. Let him know that Wednesday I go see my doctor. I'm a little nervous, so ever since I drunk with you, Matt, I haven't been drinking since. I got to make sure that try to pretend that hopefully because I know she's gonna run that blood test, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that blood test done and see what's going on. And I'm a little bit nervous, so but I feel like I'm more nervous about I'm at that 45 marker where they start doing new tests I've never had before as a male, and right now I'll just be honest, it is still a virgin, so I've never had anything be put up in there, including for any kind of test. So I'm kind of nervous about that because I'm right there. So I'm just being honest with my audience. I feel like I'm hoping that my blood test comes back good. That doesn't happen. That's what she told me last time when I went there. Well, not last time, but when I was previously went there at 40. She was like, "Yeah, well, you gonna go ahead?" Because I thought I had to have it done at 40. She was like, "Well, let's throw this blood first, see how that come back, and then if anything, then we'll do the test." But I was reluctant to make my appointment. It took me 2 months to get it. So, that made me even want to do it less. But, now I'm going to go ahead Wednesday. I go to the doctor. I'll give y'all an update, let y'all know how it went. Well, I probably won't know nothing until I go back after that. But, I'm nervous about that. So, I haven't been drinking since. So, and I thought this was a good time to talk about addiction because I got some personal questions myself that I'd like to throw at Sergeant Garrett and see what he has to say about that. But, had a good time this weekend, hung out. So I would say I'm at about an 8.5. I had some great things happen, even with my nephew and family. I had a lot of people come talk to me about last week's episode, so I was definitely happy and excited about that. So, that was it. 8.5, feeling good. How about you, Coach?
Yeah, week wasn't bad. I'm probably at about 7.5. I mean, it was just an average week, going through the motions, somewhat. Had a pretty stressful Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday was a little tough at work, just because of what I got going on this week. But it all was settled, late Thursday night, which was a good thing. And took my team through a lot of emotions throughout the week of getting things done, and there were deadlines that were due, and then there was things expiring, so it just we had to pull it together. But we managed to do that going into the weekend. But it wasn't really all that bad. The weekend didn't. I mean, it rained all day yesterday, so that was kind of a damper up here. But other than that, I mean, it was just a normal, run through the motions week. You know what I mean? Got some news from a couple that went that was in our group that's close to our family. Got some news. A couple friends had some family issues last week, so that's kind of what brought it down. You know what I mean? A little bit, just worrying about like your circle in your community having issues. You know what I mean, that they got to deal with. So, you know what I mean? It's amazing that when you talk to people, you realize that you aren't the only one going through things, right? I mean, people got different levels of what they had to go through. But, being able to talk about it kind of, I might have the experience in that they don't, and they might have the experience in You know what I'm saying? What we're doing over here, similar to the show, and that kind of came to fruition last week with a couple of my friends. So, yeah.
Okay. Glad to hear that. All
hmm
right, Sergeant Garrett, go ahead and give us your rating from 0 to 10. Let us
Uh,
know how your week has been, sir.
yeah. So far my week has been, or from the last week, I would give myself a solid 8. Um, it's funny. I can take something from everything that y'all said. Like Matty Ice, I'm waiting for some moves. Like I'm waiting at the beginning of the year. I should be in a better situation than what I'm in right now financially. A move that I'm waiting to hear back from should be coming to fruition. So I'm waiting for that and trying to patiently wait. But we get impatient when it comes to our money, right? So just trying to be patient with that. Um, man, it's funny you mentioned like health and going to the doctor and stuff. We as black men suck at that. We do not like to go to the doctor. And I'm reaching a different phase in my life where I'm realizing I'm no longer, you know, in my early 30s. I'm 38, so my body isn't responding to different things the way it used to respond to. Like for example, working out. I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted to for Thanksgiving, work out 2 weeks. I'm good to go. Um, Now the knees aching, the body don't responding. You do a hard workout, it takes you about 2-3 days to recover. So I'm coming to terms with this new phase of my life, but I'm also thankful that I'm living to see it and that I'm still able to be reasonably active and chase my kids around the house and we want to go. I can beat them in basketball, so still blessed to be able to do those things.
Oh yeah,
And
that ends, brother. Hate to tell you that. Beating them in basketball thing ends. It
look, I'm
ends.
I'm holding on to it while I can. My oldest is 14. I'm holding on to it while I can.
All right.
But overall, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm blessed to, like Coach is saying, I work was a little stressful, but toward the end of year deadlines and stuff. But we were able to get some stuff done. Um, I help clients and stuff, so got a few of my clients graduated last week, so I was real proud of them. So it was good. I'm at a solid 8.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So I also going to ask you about this book we still waiting on.
Man,
You
look,
know,
so
we've been patiently waiting here. We all got our Amazon gift cards waiting, and wanting to know when we going to buy this book, man.
I know, right? So it's Christmas. The book is on CPT.
Okay.
It's on. Nah, you know what happened? Look, what had happened
What
when
had
I
happened was,
yeah, when I initially retired, I had about 2 months where I was like, all right, I ain't gonna work. In that 2 months, we traveled a little bit, did some family time, went on field trips with the kids. My wife had a nice little honey-do list for me, so I had to knock all that stuff out. I got adventurous and was like, look, once I grew the beard, I was like, well, shoot, I got to do something rugged now. So I built a fire pit out in the backyard. And then before I knew it, it's like, hey, man, these bills ain't stopping. So I had to go back to work. And once I went back to work, the time kind of got away from me.
okay.
So.
All right. Well, here, dad mentality. We'll remind you. We'll call you up.
Yeah, look, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable.
Yeah, nah, it's all good, man. Like I said, and even when you said then, and you told us it's the books about things that we don't talk about. That's the whole premise of this show, and
Yeah.
and trying to do those things. So we've been definitely hitting a nice stride for the last while. Vance has been keeping me, my coach has been keeping me focused on making sure I talk about topics that we actually want to talk about, opposed to what's current in television or what's current in politics out here, to keep me focused. And I've been very proud of the things that we've been doing, talking about mental health, talking about taking care of yourself, talking about your finances, talking about everything, and having those subjects. So this is another chapter of or another story of that. And I want to talk about addiction. Addiction for me personally is something that I personally didn't battle with in my childhood, but it was in my family. It was strong in my family. And I do battle with a question that I'll get into it with you later. But the first thing I wanted to talk about and talk about with everybody is the word addiction. What is addiction to you? Like what do you think addiction is? And for me personally, everybody thinks about drugs. For me, that's the first thing: drugs, and then alcohol. But I also believe in there are other addictions. So I've talked previously on the show about my brother. My brother, when I was young, was he sold drugs and he was addicted to drugs. And in my house as a child, from ages, I think probably I would say ages 4 to 5. That's the most earliest I can remember. Till about 16. Then my brother went and got clean when I was 16, and now he's 20 something years clean ever since. But for him, he can't even drink a beer. He can't do nothing that would, because it's just the trigger, like a beer. For him, if he drinks a beer, his next thing is crack. And that is something, that I want to talk about, because a lot of people don't have that kind of personality or whatever the case may be. But addiction to me is when you can't control yourself. There is no control. Like you can't even, a lot of people can dabble across the line and come back, or this, that, and the other. And addiction to me is when you can't even dabble across the line. Like you can't even touch that line. So, Vance, Coach, Matty Ice, what is addiction to y'all?
I mean, I think I agree with you. Control is the first step, right? You know what I mean? I think that there's levels to addiction. You know what I mean? There's you know what I'm saying, your personal addictions and addictions that impact others, right? So, you know what I'm saying, but it all does boil down to control. So if you know what I'm saying, it consumes you, to me, to where it's impacting others, I think it's something that that you're addicted to, right? You know what I mean? In a negative manner, right? And I gotta say impact others in a negative manner, because you could be addicted to something that's impacting others in a great manner, right? Like discipline, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's good forms of addiction and bad forms of addiction. So you know what I mean? The addiction that you know what I'm saying most people think of are the ones that impact people in a negative way. But what about the addictions that impact yourself in a negative way, right? Like your thought process. You know what I'm saying? Like what you're thinking about yourself. You know what I mean? A lot of people, you know what I'm saying, are addicted to not even praising themselves, loving themselves, and all of that stuff, because they're so worried about what everybody else is thinking. So I think it's inward, and I think it's outward too. So
Okay,
Yeah.
Matty Ice.
Yeah, definitely like that, Coach. But yeah, addiction definitely comes in all types of forms. You know what I mean? Some could be more serious than others. You know what I mean? Could be addiction to food, to eating, when you get in a certain type of way. Some people are addicted to, you know what I mean, to power, or you know what I mean, money, or different things like that. And
Success.
those addictions can drive you to, do other things, hurt people. So, but as we talk about guests, we talk about physical addictions, but I think they all kind of go back to your mental at the end of the day. You know what I mean? With discipline and what you choose to do. You know what I mean? But some addictions are harder to maybe cope with when you start, bringing in drugs and different things, other substances like that. So, and when you do deal with those type of addictions, you definitely need some type of help if you're not able to kick it yourself. I know some people who've been addicted to cigarettes, and they can kick it like that. If they once they decide to, they can stop. You know what I mean? Like some people can decide and can do it. Then there's others, for whatever reason, want to stop, but you know what I mean, need a little assistance, you know what I mean, to be able to stop that addiction. Because if you've been doing something for a number of years, it's going to be harder to stop something that a bad habit you just picked up maybe a year ago. You know what I mean? So addiction is definitely serious, and I believe everybody got them, whether you want to admit to it. Everybody got some type of addiction in their life, whether it's a good one or a bad one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
I like that. I got it. That's a good question. Well, first I meant to say this too. Let me also put the disclaimer out there that this show in no way are we giving anyone medical advice, medical or telling you what to do in your situation. We're just a bunch of guys talking on here and giving our opinions and having a discussion. But in no way are we telling you that these are the answers. So just letting you know that now, anybody who's listening, just in case. And Sergeant Garrett, so what is what's the, I guess, the clinical term of addiction, and what is the what do you see out there and feel with
Yeah.
addiction?
So clinically, addiction is a compulsion or a behavior that you have that you struggle to give up, you feel compelled to use, and it causes negative consequences in your life. So that can be a behavior, that can be a substance, it could be anything. And you are right, there are levels to it. The Diagnostic and Statistics Manual of Mental Health Disorders, version 5, it rates different levels of addiction as mild, moderate, and severe. So in order for something to be an addiction clinically, I always tell clients, you got to have three things. You have to be compelled to either use the thing or do the behavior. You have to struggle giving it up. Like, you may want to stop, but it's a struggle to actually stop. And then it has to cause negative consequences in your life. So as a clinician, that's what I'm looking for when I'm doing any kind of substance use disorder assessment. I'm looking mainly for those three things, and then we're going from there. To kind of paraphrase it, though, to maybe look at it a little bit differently, it was said everybody has had an addiction at some point. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We have.
Next question.
Yeah. So a different way of looking at addiction is a failed attempt to solve a problem that causes more problems. When you really think about it like that, why do people drink? Why do people smoke? Why do people work out? Why do people have sex? Why do people eat? The things that people get addicted to is some attempt to solve some kind of problem. It comes down to three different categories: numbing, avoiding, or coping. That's one category. Seeking pleasure is another category, and then the third category is relief of pain. So whatever anybody uses, whether you have an addiction to it or not, it falls into one of those three things. So the problem you're trying to solve falls into one of those categories. Addiction comes in, it's a failed attempt to solving those problems because it's addiction. It's going to cause you more problems. So with that being said, hell, man, we all have had an addiction to something at one point or another in our lives.
Yep.
Wow. Now I never thought about that. Never thought that everybody has. I mean, at some point, you put it that simply. At some point in time, everybody does have. Usually, because you have a problem and you have a coping mechanism.
Correct.
And that coping mechanism, I guess. I mean, but can it be? So all right. So what? I guess when that coping mechanism then becomes negative, also, that's when it can be it. Because what about now? I'm just throwing something out there as we're having this conversation. What about church? What about going to church? And because some people they feel they have a problem and then they go to church and they want that to be a solving. But can church be addiction that you're then doing it? I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. This is something I just thought about. I mean, would it?
Well, he did say it has a negative effect. So if church ends up having a negative effect, then maybe. But if it's making you, feel better, then that you could be addicted to it. Could have drove you there, but it could be an addiction. But I guess does addiction have to have a negative effect? And that's but by your definition, it does.
Yeah, for something to clinically be an addiction, it has to have some kind of problematic effect. But I'm gonna throw this out there with church, right? The concept of church is about service. some people, we all know people in our lives. Like, look, we all black folks. I got a lot of Southern folks in my family and everything. I grew up in the church. How many of us got people who try to pray everything away? Instead of going to the doctor, we're gonna try to pray it away. And you try to tell them, like, God made the doctor. God made the doctor to help you. So at that point, it is causing some negative consequences in the person's life. So it could be anything. It could be anything. One of the trainings that I went to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, because I also want to clear up. I definitely go to church and think church is a great thing. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say anything negative at all. It's just something that popped into my mind but I do believe, like you said, to pray away or they still use church as a crutch opposed to using it for what it is and never dealing with the problem. Sometimes that happens, but that could be anything. Anything could be that, you know what I'm saying?
And that's
video
avoidance.
games could be that, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I play video games because I don't want to deal with whatever's going on in my mind, and when I'm playing, I don't have to deal with it at that moment. So, would I say I'm addicted to video games? I don't know. I got more things I probably use worse than video games. So, just throwing that out there, and just curious to that whole
that's like television. That's what I say why people watch TV. It's just to get your mind off of thinking. You know what I mean? So you mindlessly watch TV just to get your mind off of the other thoughts that you may have. You know what I mean? So it's like you said, that could be an addiction, scrolling on this phone all day long. You know what I mean? So we do a lot of stuff just that like mindlessly take us out of actual thought. You know what I'm saying?
But those addictions would be considered mild in your opinion, Sergeant Garrett, or
so what determines the level, mild, moderate, severe, is the severity of the consequences. So something with the phone most of the time is going to be mild, not too much consequences there. But when you talk about people who are so addicted that it literally is driving them from like living their life, like for example, there was a dude, I believe it was in Hong Kong about 5 or 6 years ago, who literally died in the cafe, like a video game cafe. This is literally playing video games, was neglecting his health, not eating, not drinking, and eventually died. That's the severity right there. That's pretty severe. Now, granted, that's like outside the norm, that you're not going to have too much of that going on in society. But what makes it more severe, and what makes drugs or mind altering or mood altering substances so severe when it comes to addictions, because they literally are changing your brain chemistry. So then you're looking at more severe consequences, health consequences, physical consequences, mental consequences. So
okay. So what is so you already kind of went through the different types of addiction. In just your professional, what's the most common? Like, what are the most common issues that we as a people or as Black men have or deal with?
So it's hard to say if it's like an addiction to one particular thing, but I'll go to the behavior that drives the addiction. The most common thing is avoidance. We have a lot of avoidant behavior, and because we want to avoid it, we'll lose ourselves in video games, or we'll lose ourselves in alcohol, or other drugs, and things like that. I would say on the drug end, from what I've seen in my practice and everything, probably alcohol is pretty significant, which makes sense because it's the most readily available of the substances. But you just can't underestimate the avoidant behavior. Like, that's the reason why a lot of people drink, is because, like I said, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the trauma. I don't want to deal with the shame. I don't want to deal with the guilt. So I'm gonna use a mood altering substance to escape from that mindset. Yeah, and it works until it doesn't.
Yep.
All right. Anybody got a question?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see that, you know what I'm saying, especially when it comes to alcohol. I mean, I think the thing about drugs, though, is that it pulls you in deeper, right? Because it's physical. So your body starts, like anything, to build a tolerance to it. So it means you need more, right? In
Yeah.
order to get to the level of which you feel the comfort. So I definitely believe that when you're using something physical to cope, you know what I'm saying, it becomes, you know what I'm saying, a little bit tougher to kick. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The addiction, the severity of the addiction grows quicker, right? You know what I mean? So, whether that's drugs or anything like that. So, I think, is it possible for a coping mechanism that you're using, even because you said it has to be negative on your life? I guess, let's say I had an addiction. Let's say I was overweight and I got addicted to the gym, and that negatively impacted my family, the addiction to the gym. That would be considered an addiction, right?
Yeah, it absolutely could be considered an addiction because you have
Because
those negative consequences.
the negative consequences against my family. I may
Mhm.
have positive consequences physically, but it's negative. It's a negative impact on those around me.
Correct. Yeah, another way to look at addiction to kind of help put it in perspective, addiction is a loss of balance.
Okay.
Like you lose balance. Like we have healthy balance. Like with working out, going to the gym, you want to be disciplined. You want to make sure that you're following your diet routine to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish. But there's still a balance. You still have a boundary and a barrier, and you have other things that you were accomplishing in your life. When you lose that balance, that's when you get into that realm of addiction, because addiction, that loss of balance, essentially means that thing is taken over.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to go over just some of the notes because we've kind of talked about it, and just let me know if you're wrong. And this is just some of the different things that they talked about you could be addicted to put it out there. So one is sex, another one is pornography, which I kind of thought is almost in the same realm, but I guess it could be definitely different. Nicotine, gambling, eating, working out, even success, phones, and shopping was another one. And I was like, well, that's the case. I know what my wife's addicted to, because she definitely loved to go shopping. But when is the difference between just something you love to do and you're addicted to it? And you're saying because that's when the balance comes in.
Yeah, that's where the balance come in. So for example, your wife was shopping. If you told your wife, like, hey, babe, look, we done spent a grip right now. We need to pull back because we got to make sure we can cover the mortgage, or whatever case. If there is still a struggle where it's like, all right, I need to go shop, that's a compulsion, and that's negative consequences. So that's going into that realm of addiction. Whereas the balance would be, all right, let me pull back. Let me, let me save it for next month. Like, let me pay all the bills this month. Let me save it for next month.
Now, my wife would take something back that she had in there, was still got the tag, and then go shopping again, and didn't spend. That way she'd say, I ain't spend no money. But that's her way of getting around that. Believe me, I already faced that one too. But it's all good. She listens to the show. She'll yell at me tomorrow. It's okay. I'm cool with it. But yeah, it's
Oh, that's cool. Look,
you
he
know,
ain't mean
it's
no harm. He ain't mean no harm. He ain't mean no harm.
hey, man. I definitely would tell you it's a thin line between with compulsion and obsession. And my wife is dance. She likes to dance around that line when it comes to shopping. But it's all right. I'm not gonna say anything. She makes her money so she can spend it how she want. It's all good out there. All right, so now to get into I did want to talk to you about this because I kind of feel that I believe I've met people who have an addictive personality. And to me, what is the thing that makes a person have addictive personalities, or even is that something that you as a clinical therapist, is that something that you look for or you see out there? Or Vance and Matty Ace, I'm curious, have y'all ever met people that you could just tell they had an addictive personality?
I can't say just meeting them off the
I mean, you
break
might
that I
know
can tell they
somebody
have a.
in your
I've
family,
met
but I
people
don't
that
want you
I
to say who they
knew
are.
was already addicted to something. Like, okay, this time, yeah. But I can't say like addictive personality, like, you know what I mean? Like if they use something, they're gonna be not gonna be able to quit. I can't say that, but
I mean, my thing is this: addictive personality. Of course, I mean, like you meet those people your boss in most cases have addictive personalities, right? Because they always want more, right? They want more, more, more. So, are you asking from that nature, good or bad?
Nah, I'm
Because
asking. All right, I'll explain it more because
yeah,
this is how I feel. The same thing. My brother, the same brother I discussed earlier, he has an addictive personality. Once you know he, and even now that he's not, he's been drug free and alcohol free for over 20 something years. He still has that strong. Everything he does, he becomes addicted to it. He's right now he's addicted to his wife. He's addicted to his lifestyle, this, that, and the other. You know, he does gamble. I would what I call him an addict. He's not. It's not negative, but it's whatever he does. He's not gonna. He plays any game, Scrabble, anything. He's gonna play it until he becomes the best. It's always that you know, he can't just go out and just have a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he learns a new game, he's going to learn everything about it until he becomes the best at it. Like, whatever the case may be,
get obsessed with something.
it
Like,
gets
obsession.
yeah, he gets obsessed, and it becomes a very, you know, no matter what it is, it seems like. And this is just me looking out. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, with him, that is his personality. Like no matter what it is, especially if it's. I mean, it's now. Thank
which could
God
be great
everything's positive.
in
No, I'm
some
not saying
instances.
that. I'm
Yeah.
you know I am saying now it is in a positive way. But everything he does, he gets obsessed. It's not ever just simple. You know what I'm saying? And I don't. You know, that's why I'm asking, because I'm curious to is that type of personality the type of personality that a lot of people have, or is that just a thing, or he's just unique? Maybe I don't know. So I'm curious.
I got that personality in some ways. I would say, like, get obsessed or like gotta know something. Like once I learn about something that piques my interest, like I go like literally all day, weeks, and just like go down a rabbit hole watching YouTube videos, Googling something, reading the article on it. You know what I mean? Like then I'll get like kind of obsessed with it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that would call it a addictive personality, but I can be like that when it comes to something. Like once like something new, I'm on it too. You know what I mean? I literally consume every piece of information that I can find on it. You know what I mean? Like a sponge. Just keep trying to find more info on it.
Till you reach that point of satisfaction, though. That's the thing. Till you reach that point, you're like, all right, cool. I know what I need to know, so now I can move on. I can progress with,
Usually because it's something I'm doing.
Do.
You know what I mean? Or something that I want to do. I'm researching something. Like that's how I got involved with crypto, and then now that's just been an ongoing thing. But now it leads to like a new project is somebody talking about. So then I need to find out all the information on it. Is this something I want to invest in, learn more about? You know what I'm saying? So then I'll just go on a deep dive about it. So it is definitely about something that you learn about. You get enough information on it, then you move on it. But
I have definitely met people that have that type of personality with that Matt is speaking of, especially obsessions with things. Like when they see something new, I've had friends that have every new thing that they see about making money, they jump on and they got to do it, and they invest in it and they go, and it's almost an obsession that negatively impacts them, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're wasting their money trying to do the research on what's supposed to be making them money, right? You know what I mean? And I've also had friends in the opposite that just dig down rabbit holes just to do it, just as a satisfaction thing. I got a really good friend that's all about history, and I'm talking about just like crazy history, like the history of knives or something. Like I actually probably got a child that's that way. My one daughter, she knows a lot of information about things that to most people would not matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? There are 37 stars in the Italian flag or something. You know what I mean? Like something that is just
You need to get her on. That sounds like
that
Jeopardy, man.
has it is it's
Yeah.
like Jeopardy. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's like I've had I've met those type people, but she loves it. Like she just loves the information, and it's not negatively impacted. I mean, she's young, so you can kind of tailor it to certain things because she does it for everything. So,
But that's
Yeah.
a good example. Like your daughter is a great example of what I'm about to say. We all got addictive personalities. It's called humanity. It's called being a human being. We all got dopamine receptors in our brain and serotonin receptors in our brain that causes us to experience pleasure. The more we experience pleasure, the more we want to continue to do a certain behavior. So we all have addictive personalities, really, when you look at it, you know, from that perspective. And like your daughter, right? My son is obsessed with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like the whole it's going to be a trilogy, but both movies, especially that last one, we watched it in the theaters. He's watched it 7 times since. He's watched YouTube videos with explainers and Easter eggs and teasers. He's telling me, like, Dad, did you know that in this, when Miles did this, it's a reference to Spider-Man issue, whatever. I was like, dang. I'm like, nah, son, I got bills to pay.
yeah.
I don't really say that, but that goes to how when we find something that we enjoy, something that brings us pleasure, we get to dig deep into it because it continuously brings us pleasure until it doesn't. Now, Beast, to go back to your brother, I would dare say one of the reasons that your brother is the way he is because of his addiction. So when you have a neurochemical addiction, that's what drugs are: alcohol, you know, amphetamines, cocaine, opiates, all those drugs. Those are neurochemical addictions. They literally change the neurochemistry in your brain, particularly dopamine receptors in your brain. And so think about it like your brain knows the route home. And when you drink, even if you haven't been home in 10 years, all it takes is one taste for your brain to remember, oh, this that way home. So that one drink will become 12 or 24. I always like to say as a form of relapse prevention, when they say, oh, I'm just going to have one, well, that one is going to turn into 20. That's literally how your brain is wired. Like addiction essentially takes advantage of your neurochemistry, and it takes a hold of it and it rewires it to get you to do what it wants to do. Your brain gets that taste of alcohol once you have reached that level of addiction. All it takes is one taste and it goes right back to it, and it's an instant before you know it.
All right, so I want to go back into that. I'm gonna just throw myself in there personally, because one thing I've been dealing with or discussing freely is with alcohol. So I do believe that at some point in time. So for me personally, I've been drinking since I was 14 years old. For the majority of my life, I never tried a drug ever. And it just so happened recently I've tried other drugs. I've tried marijuana. I don't like it. I don't like it. Like I don't like it. I don't feel for it. I don't think it's something that but I like to drink. When I have a drink, I can have a drink. I can go days without having a drink. But I do have that issue when I start drinking, especially if I'm in an environment I'm having a good time. Then that one drink turns into 20. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in an environment I'm not having a good time, or let's say I'm home and I'm just hanging out with my wife, I can have 1, 2 drinks. Now, if I'm home and I'm on the video games with my boys and we're rolling this, that, and the other, it turns into 20. You know, and or if I go hang out with my neighbor or whoever, it turns into 20. Now, my question is, me personally, I don't think I'm an addict. I went, I could go, I went the whole month of October, I didn't drink. I'll go whenever somebody puts something in front of me or whatever to make me not drink, or to say you can't drink or you can't do this, I won't. You know what I'm saying? So where do I fall in that? Am I addicted to alcohol? Am I not? Is it something that I still should face, or what? What would you say to that person, or me? Don't give me advice, but tell me your opinion. I'm just curious to where that falls, or because I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there that are in that same character, or maybe I'm just fooling myself.
Yeah. So one of my trainers, when I was going through my counseling courses, said that alcohol is great until you use it like a drug. How do people use drugs? Well, that goes back to those other categories we were talking about: numbing, avoiding, escaping, pleasure seeking, and pain avoidance. And so when you really break down the why behind your use, is it something that you can live without, or you feel like you couldn't live without? To me, from what you described, it sounds like you really can live without it. It doesn't sound like it's, and I'll throw a disclaimer out there. I'm not assessing you. I'm not conducting an assessment or anything. Yeah. But it does sound like that you can go without it. So that in itself is, not necessarily the issue. There is a thing as binging, which you don't necessarily have to have an addiction to binge drink, because binge drink can cause some health effects too. But it sounds like to me, with what you said, your uses, or your high usage anyway, is correlated to fun. So if I were, just chatting it up with you and asking you questions in a clinical setting, I would ask you, do you feel like you can't have fun without it? And if so, why? What's the reason behind that?
Not it either. Yeah, that's not it either. But no, that's just something thought. I know I don't want you to, tell me how I am anyway. But it's all good. Nah, I'm open. I'm open for it. But it is a discussion, because I do have this discussion. I've had it with Vance. I've had it with Matty Ice. I'm trying to figure it out. I do believe that I can stop drinking. And I have when I've had negative effects with alcohol. I have. And when those things happen, that's usually when I stop for a while. But I enjoy having a drink. I don't, and this is one of the whole reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, is because, the other thing I'm afraid of is, and I'm being honest with you, is if I don't drink, then if I pick up something else, will that be worse? And I'm trying to figure out what that is for me. So, it's just something throughout there. Hey, I am looking forward to talk to somebody about it. I do want to say that to anyone. If you're even struggling with it, in the fact that you're having a conversation with yourself and your family about it, then, it is something that you need to talk to a professional about. And I am one of those cases. And definitely don't want to use the show as the place to really, discuss it, because, it is what it is. But it is something that I struggle with. I believe everybody struggles in their own way, and like you said, in different things, until it becomes a negative effect, which I don't feel it is a positive effect either. So I have that in my mind. So I'm working on it. Y'all keep me in your prayers, and anybody want to reach out to me and talk about it with me, I'm definitely willing to talk. And and have that discussion. But we'll get back to the conversation and everything. So now my next question is, what is a functional addict? So can you believe that a person can be, I've met people that I would put in that category as functional addicts where, I've met them doing harder drugs and they still get up for work. They go to work until they get that paycheck. And then after that, you may not see it for 2 or 3 days or whatever the case may be. But, what is is that an actual term or because we're all addicted to something? Are we all functional addicts? But before you answer, hold on. I want to get Matty Ice's and Coach's opinion on it. Before you answer, and what do you think about that? Or even me talking about this alcoholism, am I a functional addict? So, Vance, Coach, Matty, go ahead, whoever. Anybody want to jump in and just talk about what do you think?
I would definitely would say so, because you got a functional addict, like you said, who may drink, they may go to work and be drunk every day, you know what I'm saying? But they do a good job until something does happen, or somebody does find out that they drunk at work every day, and then they lose their job or something happens, you know what I mean? Or something may never happen. So you do have that type of functional addict. But then, you have the other addict who you see, man, if you live, anywhere in our area or in DC, that the addiction has got the best of them. You know what I'm saying? So they have fallen from grace. You know what I mean? They out on the streets or whatever. So they are no longer, functional addicts. The addiction is taking hold. So I guess you can definitely say that, you can be a functional addict again, because you can be addicted to everything. Somebody might not even know what your addiction is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely.
I mean, yeah, the thing about it is, but you can be a functional addict, but you still are coping with something, and you still, if it's not impacting you negatively, according to the definition, are you an addict?
It could be affecting you negatively, but you still functioning. Like, it could still be affecting you negatively while you still functioning.
Yeah, I mean, I got you. I understand what you're saying. I understand. Yeah, it could. You saying I understand that it could be still impacting you negatively, maybe physically, right? But if it's not impacting nothing else around in any manner, and you haven't lost control.
I'm saying it could be like I said again, like with work, you may still be showing up to work, but that don't mean it's not affecting your performance. It's affecting you in other ways, but you just it ain't hit the fan yet. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually, your addiction could cause something to hit the fan. That's what I'm saying. Like you might be functioning for a while, but then that's like when you say something is functioning, is it functioning at 100%? Like it could be slowly degrading. Now it's only functioning at 75%. You know what I'm saying? So it's still functioning, but it eventually may break though.
Yeah, I'm tracking what you're saying. Like you're going down a path of destruction, right? At some point, it may not be destroyed at this point, but like for instance, if somebody's addicted to nicotine, the path is themselves, right? You know what I'm saying? Because that's who's going to impact the most.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you could be functioning smoking cigarettes.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. But
and nothing may happen, but we do also know what happens with people over years of smoking cigarettes. They could get something, and then that could cause them to stop functioning. You know what I mean?
I agree with you on that. I mean, I think I sway both ways with that. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that, there's some truth to it, because some people do have negative impacts, and some people live to their 99.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly.
I agree with you 100% on that. That you can be a functioning addict depending on what you're addicted to.
Okay. All right. Sergeant Garrett.
Yeah.
Sergeant Garrett says it's funny because when we talk and Sergeant Garrett sits there with the clinical psychology face, like I'm not gonna show any emotion, whether they're right, wrong. I'm not gonna give him a laugh. I'm not gonna give him a nod, yes or no. Go ahead, because I'll be watching to see.
Yeah, I see you in the car. I'm like, I bet he just watching me to see if I'm gonna break my poker face.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, though, there are so many different ways you can go with it, but functioning alcoholics or functioning addicts absolutely exist. Some of the best addicts that I have treated have been functioning. They would use, so for example, there's a term called speedballing. They would use something like an opiate, which is depressant. It kind of slows you down. And then to kick them back up, they would use some kind of stimulant like cocaine or something else. And you would never know. In fact, what's the movie? Denzel movie. He was a pilot. Flight. Flight is a perfect example of that. y'all seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remember at the very end, right before he had that hearing, when he had relapsed and he binged all that alcohol, and then they came in, they gave him some cocaine, and he was just fine at the hearing. You never knew it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who do that, and they know the science. So let me say this also: addicts are some of the smartest, most creative people I have ever seen in my life. When I worked in the DOD prison, and some of the stuff that those folks came up with, like, who thinks of doing that? Like, when they want it, they find a way to get it. That creativity, that ingenuity, they're at it. And I always say, like, turn that to something good. Like, go cure cancer, some shit like that. Like, do something good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolutely possible to be functioning. But like you said, Coach, it's a path of destruction because, again, like in every case, it is going to end in pain. Addiction begins in pain and is going to end in pain. So you're functioning until you're not. You know.
Nah, I get it. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean
Agreed.
that's basically what I feel about it. I said. All right. Y'all fellas got any questions or anything y'all want to bring up or discuss?
When dealing with somebody with an addiction, like, what's the best way to approach it?
That's a good question. That is an excellent question. So a lot of people want to go the route of separation. Separation works as a certain extent. So what I mean by separation is you use or you leverage your relationship to try to elicit some kind of behavior change with the person. Like, if you don't stop or if you don't go to rehab, I'm leaving, I'm taking the kids, or we're cutting you off. That only goes so far. One of the best things that you can do for a person who's in addiction is to stay connected to them with boundaries. That's the most important part. With boundaries, hold them accountable to boundaries, but stay connected to them, because there's all kinds of studies and experiments about how some people get addicted and some people don't. Isolation is highly correlated to addiction. So staying connected with them while still holding them accountable, still maintaining your boundaries. Like, I can love you from afar. I can love you without giving you money. I can love you without paying your bills. And I'm still going to stay connected to you and show you love, but I'm also going to hold you accountable. You said you was going to stop. You didn't stop. You said you were going to go get help. You didn't go get help. One of the best things that you can do is hold that person accountable, have those boundaries, but still stay connected to them. Because, again, isolation in the long term is detrimental to recovery. It's detrimental to sobriety.
I can see that.
Yeah, that just reminded me of something that I did. I watched a bunch of YouTubes about addiction and things like that. And the one thing that they did talk about was that they said that they did experiment with rats, and rats, of course.
Yeah, Rat Park. Rat Park experiment.
Rat Park. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I was going to talk about. And I'll just give you, Vance, since you brought that up, a quick thing about the Rat Park. They gave the rat 2 water bottles. One had, I think, some type of opium in it or something, mixed with the water, and the other one was regular water. The rat by himself went to the opium and drunk it till it killed him. Then they built what was called Rat Park, where it was basically, amusement park for the rat where he could do all these other things, and he had other rats with him and stuff like that. So he had people, he had family. He can go, rat bang and whatever the rat wanted to do. And it turned out that the rat did not drink the opium after that. It was cool. It had, it was having fun, doing whatever it wanted to do every day, blah, blah, blah. And they said that the rat ended up drinking, like rarely ever drinking the one that had the opium in it, and the one that didn't, the water, and they survived and lived a happy rat life. And they said that correlates with us as people that, we need that sense of being with the person or having fun or engagement. You know what I'm saying? That the most dangerous thing that can happen to a person is being by themselves, and I guess that goes into depression. Or what is that exactly what you was just saying, Sergeant Garrett, about the whole thing? About
Pretty much.
the isolation is basically now. Usually, are a lot of addicts in that isolation realm? Is that something that is like a huge, I guess, common denominator a lot of the times? I know everything is not always the same, but
Yeah, if it's not necessarily a cause of the addiction, it definitely makes it worse. It definitely exacerbates it. Because you got to think, especially like I work in a residential treatment facility, so they live there. So, if you want to put levels to it, the American Society for Addictive Medicines, I work at, it goes up to a level, goes up to level 4. I work at a 3.7, so I'm pretty high up there. But a common denominator is they've alienated their families, they've alienated their social supports, and so a lot of people, don't want much to do with them. And especially when they're sober, and this is where it goes down to the whole numbing, avoiding, coping thing. When they're sober, they're reminded of how lonely they are. So they'd rather use to not think about those things.
Mm.
Yeah. But, you hit the key on the head when you said that we need socialization. Always when I'm teaching groups of people, or when I'm, telling my clients, I always remind them, you're not a tiger, you're a lion. Tigers are solitary creatures. They can kind of survive on their own. We as human beings aren't like that. We need a pride. We need social groups. We need social structures to operate in, and we have to contribute to that structure. So that makes us more like lions in a pride rather than like tigers. And so addiction, that's why I was saying addiction is a failed attempt to alleviate a problem or pain. A lot of the pain that people have is due to the isolation that they have, which is why I got mad respect for you in this podcast, because, brother, you were doing a hell of a job of bringing people out of that isolation, having these hard conversations that people don't normally talk about. You're only as sick as your secrets. So just
like
putting it out there.
Hey, I like that. Okay. All right. Matt Ace, did you have anything you want to ask?
No, I think he kind of covered. I was going to say something, but then he kind of just went into it right there.
I know. I talk a lot, man. I talk a lot.
It's definitely.
Yeah,
So I got another question. My question is this: is that what does relapse prevention look like? Because I've addressed the addiction. I've got help. I've got back into, regular life. How do I prevent going back, one? Or to Rodney's story earlier, how do I prevent not creating another habit, like obsession with something else? Like Rodney was saying, his brother now is obsessed with being the best Scrabble player as opposed to the drug. How do I rebalance chemically?
Hey, that don't sound like a bad trade-off, though.
I'm
not saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
I use myself because that's what I was afraid of. Because I'll be honest with you, I stopped drinking for like 6 months, And then that's when I started experimenting with weed. And when that happened, and then I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I did not like smoking weed. One, I couldn't function with it the way with alcohol, because I would be the next day I would sleep for 2 days. Like I wouldn't get up. I wouldn't this, that, and the other. And I didn't. And I wasn't smoking a lot, but it just didn't have the same, I guess, dopamine effect for me personally.
Yeah, two different.
So, but then next thing you know, I was like, well, shit, I want to try mushrooms. Now I want to try this. And then after that, I was like, you know what, fuck that. I'll just go back to drinking. Like I'm not even going, like I don't even want to do that, because it wasn't giving me the same, I guess, effect I wanted. You know, it was giving me something different. And don't get me, you know, I'm not bashing, it's to each his own. I got my own addictions, you know what I'm saying? So, but I just didn't get it. I didn't get it, didn't like it. And, you know, then I stopped and was like, you know, but then I was worried if I go back and I stop drinking again, you know, will I end up finding a worse habit?
Yeah, but did you ever find out the cause of what's pushing you to look for something else?
That's what. Yeah, that's like you always
Boredom.
going because it's habit. So sometimes you do have to
Boredom was
replace
the
it with
reason.
something. You know what I mean?
I was sitting there because
it's what he just said. It's isolation.
Well, it wasn't just isolation. I was just bored. I wanted to do something. Like, I wanted to go out and have a good time, you know? And I'm not saying I couldn't, but, you know, it's just like, shit, if I'm not drinking, I guess I feel personally like, you know, if I go out and hang out with my boys, I want to drink. I want to have a drink. I want to have a good time, blah, blah, blah. Can I have a good time with my boys without drinking? Absolutely, I can.
I'm not knocking you for that. I'm just saying, is it something else that was driving you to look for another habit? You understand what I mean? Was there something of that nature in play, right?
Right. So I think, Coach, what you're trying to say, don't let me put words in your mouth, but I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. Why use something outside of your body to help regulate how you feel on the inside?
Yes.
Yeah. And is that something that, you know, you may need to explore, is why you need to have something to help regulate how you feel on the inside? Now, we don't see it as regulation. We don't see it as, oh, I'm just drinking to have a good time. We don't see that as like self-medicating or anything like that. It's pleasure seeking is what it is. But you got to think about it, and you got to remember how our brains operate, how we as human beings are, how we form habits. Every time we form a habit, that habit gets much harder to break because we feed into it every time. And it gets to the point to where, just like probably with you, I would imagine with the alcohol piece, you can't associate hanging out with your boys without drinking, or at least it's hard to associate without it, because they kind of go hand in hand.
No, I mean, I hang out with my boys and don't drink, but if I hang out there, I'm not doing it.
It's social, so it's yeah.
But I mean, but then
the social lubricant.
Know, but still, to go back to Coach's question, which is because and once again, we're going back into that other comment. You know, my liver is fatty. I'm going to the doctor. The doctor says your liver is fatty, so I got to stop drinking. You know, that's why I stopped for 6 months. So that was the reason why I stopped for 6 months, because I went to the doctor that told me my liver was fatty. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna stop drinking, and I did. But then I started getting bored. I was like, yo, I'm bored. And now weed is readily available. So I tried it. And it was my first time. It was my first time ever trying. I never smoked it as a teenager, never smoked it as a child, never. Because of my childhood with my brother, because of him doing drugs. I never smoked anything. So I tried it and did not like it. And I really feel like the reason why I don't like it is because I still associate it with those days back when I was young. I still associate, because I even decided I definitely hated the smell of it and everything on my body, this, that, and other. So then I tried edibles, and none of that shit, I just don't like it. It's just not me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm just throwing this out here as a conversation, because now, I'm about to go back to the doctor. I'm sure she's going to tell me my liver's fatty again. And, that now I got to stop drinking or whatever the case may be. But I mean, there's a lot of people, and like you said, what does relapse look like, and how do you stop yourself? What do you have to do in order, if you're in that relapse stage, to try to not relapse?
Right. I think I was talking to you earlier about how when I was working, I was like, man, I got to write another book now. Um, I do work with my patients. We call it PASS work, PAS. Relapse prevention looks like PASS: purpose, accountability, and self love. So use an analogy real quick to break it down. If life is like a journey, you are going to need a map on that journey. That's your purpose. When you live, walk, breathe within your purpose, it's going to minimize the need to cope, the need to pleasure seek, the need to avoid, the need to relieve pain. Because again, to go back to what I was saying about how human beings contributing to a community and having that socialization, it literally feeds us. Like it releases serotonin, not so much dopamine at that point, but it releases serotonin. Really, when you look at serotonin, is much more closely tied to depression than dopamine is. That's why the main drugs to treat depression are SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors.
Mhm.
When you're releasing serotonin, you don't need the dopamine. It's like a hit, but it lasts longer. And serotonin is really associated with human beings being more altruistic, charity work, living within the purpose, spending time with family and loved ones and stuff like that. So one that's going to reduce the need to want to use a substance or a behavior. Um, Accountability is the next thing. This is the hard thing. Don't none of us like to be held accountable, but God knows we all need it. You need somebody um, to help you stay accountable. So if purpose is your map, accountability is the key or the legend on that map. That's what helps you read your purpose and stay within it. That's how you are going to continue on that path of success that you're trying to do, that path of health rejuvenation that you're trying to do, having accountability and having other people hold you accountable. And by me hold you accountable, I'm not saying that they're gonna you know like cause you any negative consequences. They're just bringing it to your attention. They're letting you know, like, hey, you said you wanted to accomplish XYZ. Your behaviors aren't aligning with your desires, so something's got to change there. That's the accountability that I mean. And then the last thing, the most important thing, while you're on that journey, if you ever looked at a map, you've gotten lost. Like hell, use Google Maps or OnStar. Man, OnStar will have you in the middle of a parking lot somewhere. Um,
Mhm.
if you ever done that and you just straight up lost, you need a compass. Compass is going to always point to true north. When you know where true north is, you can always find your way back to the path. And that is the most important thing. The S, that is self-love. You got to love yourself enough to know yourself. Knowing yourself is important. Knowing your triggers, knowing your insecurities, knowing your vulnerabilities, knowing your shortcomings so you can work on them. But also loving yourself enough to do all the other things. Without self-love, man, you can't have purpose. Without self-love, you can't have accountability. Without self-love, it's hard to show up for your family as the best version of yourself. You too busy trying to well, you're doing two things. You're either being the martyr, where oh woe was me, everything is bad. You're playing the victim all the time. And we all that's so annoying. You want to slap the heck out of people when they do that. But then the other side of that, that's what you got your narcissistic folks who they're so insecure about who they are. They project airs of perfection, like everything I do is great, everything I do is perfect. You can see through that. Um, but not to get too deep in the philosophical world with it, but relapse prevention and relapse work really looks like you living within your purpose, doing the things that you're supposed to do, finding out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, you're just gonna be adrift. You just waking up, going to work, coming home, being miserable. It's like you're living, but I'm sorry, it's like you're alive, but you're not really living.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's what I always tell my clients, man. You got to find joy. You got to find purpose. You know, you got to, if you don't love yourself, you better get to loving. Or else you gonna go right down that road.
Hey, 100%. I definitely believe in that. Self-love is something I'm not lacking, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that out loud.
That's good.
But hey, it was a good conversation. I appreciate your time. We're gonna get ready to get into the after topics. I do want to say, a few things. Like I said, this is us talking once again, and I'll have Sergeant Garrett go ahead and at the end of the show talk to you. If anybody out there, if you're having an issue, or you can tell them now, if you're having an issue, you really feel like you're struggling with addiction and you need help, get help, man. Like, that's for real. Get help. And, talk to somebody who loves you, talk to somebody about all these things. And Sergeant Garrett, what would someone who finds himself in that addiction realm, who wants to get better, what should be their first step?
I would say start with your primary care doc or your doctor. Start with them. Let them know what's going on, and then they'll refer you. They'll refer you to a professional who's going to do an assessment. They're going to use that book I described earlier, the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual. They're going to do an evidence-based assessment on you, and then based off the results of that assessment, they'll create a treatment plan. But starts off with getting the professional help from on the medical side, because you really want to make sure that your health is good to go too.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate your time. We're gonna get into these after topics and have a little fun here, and we talk some heavy stuff, so we try to lighten it up a little bit at the end and have some good time. So this week I decided to since we're talking about addiction and drugs, to talk about some of the TV and movie drug dealers or addicts or whoever that, for instance, everybody always talks about Scarface, Tony Montana. He was the one he was the bad guy that you loved at the end of the movie. Everybody saw that and wanted to either emulate him in some way. Not saying they was going to go out and get tons of cocaine, but as a child, that personality of I am who I am type situation was always something for me. So I just want to go through and see who was your favorite television, or you can even say like rapper or whatever the case may be, that talked about selling drugs or being a drug dealer. 10 Crack Commandments is one of my favorite songs of all time. That even though they talking about drugs, you can take a lot of that stuff and live your life to those rules, and it ain't bad advice. So, so we can go ahead, go around the room. I'm going to go ahead. I don't want to start it off because I got some good ones that I don't think y'all going to mention. So we're going to go ahead and who was your favorite drug dealer in a movie or television series? Matty Ice.
I got a few, man. I don't want to say all the same
just give us one. Just give us one, and we'll go around until.
All right. I'm gonna say
scratch them off your list.
Yeah, one of my first one, I'm gonna go with my man Ace from Paid in Full, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ace was good. Unfortunately, I am an anti-Paid in Full person.
Yeah,
I did not like that. I did not like that movie. Right. But I'm willing to stand on it if anybody want to argue. Only because of what was it, Cameron? It was Cameron in that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Cameron's character, I didn't like him because he sold people out all the time. But it was what it was. I forgot who his character was. Based
Alpha. I'm saying it's based on a true story, though. You can't hate the movie because he played the role of a character.
Well, I'll just give him my opinion. I'm not a big Cameron fan musically either. I don't like him in that either. So I stand by that too. But anyway, Coach, what you got on there? Who's your favorite?
No, George Young.
Yeah, I got to mark him off. I didn't think I was gonna say that. All right. From Blow, right?
Yeah.
My man Johnny Depp. Yeah, that was a great movie. Who here is not a Blow fan? Y'all didn't like Blow. This is the time we can jump in.
Y'all never. Yeah. Have y'all seen? Have y'all seen Blow?
Fan.
Yeah, I saw it a while ago. Yeah, he was good. Johnny Depp was good.
George, I didn't know, but yeah, that was one of my joints.
My man said I went into prison.
His
My
mother
man,
or his wife.
yeah,
They
my
may
man
be married.
said, and I quote, "I went into prison with a bachelor in marijuana and came
Went
out
on
with a
with it.
doctorate in cocaine."
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yep.
that to me is definitely one of my favorite drug movies of all time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of my
I think that's a sleeper for some people. Like,
It
I like
is.
that's my joint though.
All right, all right. Well, I'll go next just to throw it out. You know, I had to go to my favorite movie of all time. My man Kane and O-Dog. You know, so they would definitely. I was definitely cheering for both of them at the end. Hopefully, they got out of the hood. But yeah, they both were drug dealers, and they both, you know, showed Kane. Well, I was more of an O-Dog. O-Dog was my man. You know, I feel that Lorenz Tate was excellent in the movie, especially coming from Disney. He sold me because I swear after that he was always O-Dog in everything he was to me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I remember him for. So you know, mine is Kane and O-Dog. All right, Sergeant Garrett. Let's go ahead and hear your week worst
So yeah,
show,
you know,
movie, or whatever ever.
I was actually surprised as I thought somebody was gonna say Frank Lucas, but I was like, okay, you know, but
I'm going old school next go around.
okay, but you know, I think I wanted to throw out a little something different. I know a lot of people don't like, but this actor killed this role.
Mm-hmm.
Mahershala Ali's character in Luke Cage, Cottonmouth.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was rooting for
wasn't bad.
Cottonmouth. I was rooting for Cottonmouth. I ain't gonna lie. Like when you know he had his code of honor that he lived by, but like if you cross him, he's throwing you off a building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Not a big Luke Cage fan either. Go ahead and put that out.
Luke Cage wasn't bad.
It was alright.
It was alright.
To me, Mahershala Ali was the best
Alright.
part of the movie, or the best part of the series. Man, he was the best part.
I always hate the fact that the black characters who are superheroes only can be black character superheroes in Harlem. That's it. They always in the same. That's it. They either Queens, Harlem, and that's the only place they can go. How come they ain't saving people in Manhattan? That's all I got to say. I'm just saying, you know, that's the reason why I hated the show. I'm telling you, I'm very particular, man. I look at all aspects. Plus, I'm not a big
you might eat my next one up,
Marvel superhero guy. All right, so Matt, you got another one for us, Matt?
Yeah, I got a few. I'm gonna say
Come on.
something different. I'm gonna go with my man Bumpy Johnson, Hoodlum, Lawrence Fishburne.
Good one.
Bumpy Johnson definitely cheered for him at the end. Yeah, he was definitely one. Yeah, Bump. After I watched that, I wanted to be like him too. That joint was vicious. He was vicious in that joint. His man Whispers too was my man in that joint.
Yeah,
Whispers was the man. And didn't eat his ice cream cone. That scene, yeah, that joint was classic for me. Like why I don't eat nuts on my ice cream cone anyway. But go ahead. Rat poison. Try to get the dude to eat the joint. Vance, you next?
Yeah, Henry Hill, Goodfellas.
Okay. Yeah. That was definitely, Goodfellas was good too. All right. So we got, hold on. We're going to go back because we got to rank which movie was the best out of all these we talking about. But
you say drug dealers, movie drug dealers. So
yeah.
I don't think that, I think Blow's good, but go ahead, Roddy. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
I mean, I think Goodfellas is a real good movie. I don't know if it was a good drug movie or if it was just a good mob movie. You know what I mean?
I'll put it more in the mob genre. If it was
more mob, more of a mob than
the drug dealer. Drug one, your first one. We'll try it. All right. Next for me is, you know, hey man, I'm going to my classics. So Marlo Stanfield and Omar, both of them. Even though Omar technically wasn't a drug dealer, well, actually no, he did sell on a block. He sold on a block.
Yeah, he stole from people.
Yeah, once he stole, he'd sell it.
Once he stole the stash, he stole it back to him.
Yeah, but you know, he had but he had a code. But he sold because it was a couple episodes he sold on the street. Because remember the girl that always helped him came up to him and he gave her a free rock or whatever. So, you know. But Marlo Stansfield and Omar, cause he always lived by a code that You know, he ain't never put his gun on a civilian, and you know, he ain't never taken somebody that shouldn't be taken. One of his favorite quotes is when he said, "Money." What he say? Money ain't got owners, just spenders. That's it. I live by that. When I'm at the poker table, when people be mad that I took their money, that's why I tell them all the time. I'm like, money ain't got no owners, just spenders. You know what I'm saying? They don't belong to you. So yeah. So Omar, Marlo, and Marlo
gonna
too.
say Marlo though. I was gonna say Marlo.
Everybody knew you was gonna say Marlo. I mean,
I had to give you that one, so I ain't even say it, but I knew you would say Marlo.
Hey, Marlo's my boy. I follow him as an actor, no matter what he on. Even when he a cop, he's still gangster to me. So you know. All right, Sergeant Garrett, you got one more for us?
So I already hit my top two, man, but like I just love Frank Lucas. Like Frank Lucas is from North Carolina originally, so we put North Carolina on the map.
Okay.
But just
Greensboro, wasn't
he? Greensboro, yep. But
just
how
my wife from.
Yeah, just how creative he was with like getting the drugs sent from Vietnam and how he did it. I mean, again, man, it just goes saying King Cats is creative. This creative, entrepreneurial, man. Just
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody got any more they want to throw out there? I got a couple. I'm trying to pull up while I start pulling up this terrible fantasy crap. I mean, not fantasy, football.
I mean, you could go to Tommy from Belly.
Oh, I forgot about Belly. Yeah.
You know what? I thought about Belly and then got lost in something else. Yeah, Belly was my joint. Yeah,
it was.
Belly was good. All right. What else? Anybody else? King of New York for me was another one.
We can go Belly.
King of New York was smooth. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people haven't watched King of New York, man, and that was a really good movie.
Oh, excellent movie. Hell yeah. King of New York was another one for me. But I mean, all right. So let's say we gotta take a quick vote. We done talked about all these movies. What's the number one drug movie? If you had to put your vote in, what's the number one drug movie of all time? I mean, yeah, it's got to be movie. We got to keep it in one song.
Yeah.
Right?
Got to be movie.
Yeah, it's got to be movie. Got to be movie now. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's gonna be. Oh, we forgot about Boys in the Hood. I guess I don't know. I guess Ice Cube was a drug dealer in the jump.
But you were saying like who you would want to do something like, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd go with more of the Frank Lucas, the Bumpy
American
Johnson
Gangster.
type characters, or Boston George. Like they had empires. Like they was.
Like they was on a whole nother level.
They could have ran Fortune 500 companies, you know.
Yeah, they could have.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna go with Blow. Is my opinion. Blow is the number one in my opinion. We talking pure drug movies because even like Menace to Society and those, you consider them more gang movies or more than drugs. They weren't running. Oh, we forgot. How did everybody forget New Jack City?
I
gotta change that. I ain't even think. I forgot all about that. I ain't think
about Nino. I mean, I thought about it.
New
I
Jack
was just...
City are gonna be my number one now. I changing it.
You think
Jack
so?
City. New Jack City was definitely in my number one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The problem. Let me tell you the problem with New Jack.
All right, I'm listening.
They never showed. He ain't bring them drugs to the city, bruh. They never showed the supplier. They never talked about the story. They showed how he ran the empire, but they never showed the supplier, bro.
And that's your problem?
Yeah, I mean, I got brought because Nino Brown wasn't the main guy.
He was the main guy. He was the main guy in the towers that took over the towers.
Frank Lucas was the main guy. The guy from George Young was them bombers were the ones flying it in, bruh. Like when we talk, Nino Brown was buying from Frank Lucas and George Young.
He still built the drug.
Let's call it spade a spade.
Yeah.
You're right. He was the middleman in that situation. He wasn't the top guy. I get what you're saying. I can respect that. I can respect that. All right. So you're saying American Gangster.
I'm saying Blow. I think
you're saying Blow.
I like Blow. Blow is a better movie to me.
Yeah.
I thought it was too.
Yeah. I like Blow as a movie better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. So I guess that Mighty Ice opinion don't matter at this point. He outnumbered, so I guess Blow is going to be the winner of that particular conversation. So now we're going to move on to these terrible sports picks. Once again, my bank account is going lower. And unfortunately, I don't feel comfortable giving Sergeant Garrett my selection for this week, but I will because he can't do any better than he can't do any worse than I'm already doing. So, I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna see what's going on. So Sergeant Garrett, I don't know if you know this, every week we pick 5 games that we pick the winners. I bet the money line $20 on that. So it's not nothing excessive, it's not nothing that will hurt my family or be you would call an addiction.
Yeah,
So you can feel safe in doing it. You can feel safe giving your opinion. I don't want you to, But if it's wrong, then I'm going to charge you clinically. And
you might want to find out who his team is before you give him this much power. I'm just letting you know.
He's from North Carolina, so it can only be two teams.
And look, the worst record in the league. The team with the worst record in the league right now.
Oh, well, we already know.
Yep.
Well, it's all right. I mean, being a clinical psychologist, you don't leave people because they make bad decisions. So I guess he just stays with them, hoping that one day that they will relapse and become a good team. But but I can't blame them because I'm with a terrible team too. So it's all right.
Look, you got to be patient to work in this field. So look, I have patience.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Well, I think you're just glutton for punishment, but it's all right. We're gonna go ahead and keep going.
I'm trying to pick the easiest games you can pick this week. That's
every week.
I've been trying it every week, bro. It's not my fault. The Vikings scored 3 points last week, and beat the Raiders. No, what you?
Yeah, that game was terrible.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
They was about to go to overtime 0-0.
0-0, bro. I can't do nothing about that. All right, so here we go, man. Do you want to kill it? We can kill it early because there's 3 Saturday games. We can just go ahead and get the torch out of the way. Maybe you can rebound on Sunday. You know what I mean? Because there's a Thursday night game and 3 Saturday games. So if you want to get it out of the way, we can get it out of the way.
Man, just pick the easiest game so I can try to win some money this week.
All right, so the Vikings are at the Bengals. That's an easy pick.
It's only plus 3.5.
Yeah, but the Bengals, Josh Dobbs is terrible, bro.
All right.
Think about this. They had negative passing yards in the 4th quarter against the Ravens because they had more he got sacked more yards than he actually threw the football.
Yeah,
for 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks in a row that's happened.
So what's your pick, Coach?
Yeah,
okay. They're going 2 Cincy's. All right, Sergeant Garrett. I guess you don't got to pick on this one because they letting you free. Go ahead. Who's next? I don't know. Sergeant Garrett might want the Vikings. Go ahead.
I ain't want the Vikings. I ain't even picking this next game. I'm trying to keep it easy. The Bears at the Browns. And don't say the Bears are good because they won last week. They beat Detroit last week.
Okay. All right, we'll start with Sergeant Garrett. I want to hear his terrible opinion so I can hold it against him next week, even though
yeah. I'm going to go with the Browns. They got they got a better record. And
all right.
Browns better defense.
I agree.
Decent line from what I see anyway.
All right.
Next. This should be an easy one. The Falcons at the Panthers. Falcons battling for playoff contention, by the way. Just thought I'd let y'all know.
Look, so sometimes you gotta be a little crazy. I'm gonna go with the Panthers just cause.
Going Falcons.
All right, you know
Just
what, Sergeant?
cause.
It was great to have you on the show. I appreciate you coming in this week.
My man about to
You know
lose
what
your
I'm
money
saying?
off the gate. Like off the gate. I'm trying to win.
I would like to stress that Sergeant
Just
Garrett's
cause.
opinion do not represent dad mentality.
Just
But
cause.
all right, go ahead.
I'm
What we doing?
I'm
Look,
picking the Falcons.
Look,
I'm picking
if
the
they
Falcons.
mess around and win, y'all gonna be like, this dude, just what? What just happened?
Matty Ice.
No, I said I've been said Falcons.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. All right. Well,
I'm trying to do my best.
All right. What's next?
The 49ers and the Cardinals. Come on, bro. Like we gotta win like $5 this week.
The Niners, man.
The Niners, baby.
Niners got
Niners. All right. What's
Now,
next?
oh, you know what's next? They playing this week, bro. You gotta pick.
Who
The
got picked?
Commanders and the Rams.
The Rams. I told you they're not winning another game. I told you that 4 weeks ago. They are not winning another game.
I am telling you now, bro. If we go into this joint 4-0 and the Commanders beat the Rams, dog, I'm going to die. You know what I'm saying? Laughing at you next week, bro. I'm letting you know that.
I'm not making the pick. Y'all making the pick. Go ahead, pick the Commanders. Go ahead, pick the Commanders. I'm giving my opinion. I told y'all they are not going to win another game.
Nah,
They
they
not.
not.
At the Rams.
The coach packed this shit up 2 weeks ago.
It's a full 5 game too.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera has a to-go bag.
Yeah.
He has a to-go bag. When he don't know when he going to get fired, but he know he going. His shit already packed up.
Yeah.
Already packed up.
I'm just saying.
I think
he
the
came
team
from
done
Carolina.
packed up.
He came from Carolina.
Yeah,
that's
he
not
did.
a good thing.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's not a good thing. So are you? So who's saying this? Who's saying the Commanders? Anybody saying the Commanders?
Nobody.
Sergeant Garrett.
Oh no,
from North Carolina.
No. I know. I'm not a Commanders fan, so nope. I'm only a delusional Carolina fan.
Yeah.
Everything else, I use logic and reason.
Mm-hmm.
This $20 bet wins me a whopping $90. So,
hey, bro.
We'll see.
You're gonna be happy. You're gonna be happy with that $90 next week too.
It ain't even about the win.
I've won.
Yeah, you're gonna be happy.
The win
all season, man. That's all I got to say. All I know is that when we get into these playoff wins, y'all better make sure we make some good picks when the playoffs come. But anyway, all right. So this $20 bet wins a whopping $90. I'm just gonna be in the hole about another $200 or something like that. But we're gonna act like that didn't happen. Let's see if this wins again. Once again, we're not giving you betting advice either because apparently we're terrible at that. So
yeah, they don't want us to do that.
Just like all the rest of our advice. So we had this show to have fun. We talk about things that normally are not talked about, and I'm happy to watch. I want to thank you, Sergeant Garrett, for joining us again and having this conversation about addiction and talking about just giving us a little light that is semi more educated than what we talking about, what we were saying ourselves. But we'll give you some respect. You stay there. We'll stop talking to you about movies and sports and stuff like that. We'll keep you in that professional light. But I do want to say something. Self-love is something that you definitely want to have. Continue to have self-care. Once again, I'll say it again. If you're dealing with anything, any addictions, please talk to a professional. Talk to someone. Get yourself help. And as I'm going to do myself. So I want to practice what I preach. And fellas, thank y'all for joining me again. It's another week at Dad Mentality. Thank y'all for coming out. I appreciate y'all. God bless. Good night.
Good night.